Nobody else can make you do it. Your spouse can't. Even your boss at work, you'll argue back. But when it comes to your personal instructor, you will
Right.
do everything. A lot of fake news, a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
fake diets, lot of fake expectations.
Right.
Your body is the only place you live in
Yes.
permanently.
Yeah, that's
So
so.
take care of it. What we really need to do is to forego that entire concept of superwoman. And if you're having an emotional meltdown or you're having a bad day, it's okay to let people understand and see it so that you'll also, I think, be able to get more consideration and a little more understanding from the people around you. And if you're, I would tell a baby, you started too late. You know, the struggle might have been a little less if you had done this a few years ago. It's a fictional book, but there's a lot of self help in there also because it's a book about winning against all odds and having the faith in yourself. Writing is oxygen to me. It's therapy to me. It is my outlet and it's my medium of expression.
Hi, Rashima, and welcome once again to the About Her Show. This is not something new for you. You've been here, you know what the show is all about. And in the past, also, your episodes with us have helped us inspire a lot of women out there. So, once again, we are looking forward to hearing more about you, your life. And in particular, this time, we're also going to be talking about your latest book, Weight Wars, in addition to several other things. So, a very, very warm welcome to you on the About Her Show.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. It's always such a delight, if I may say so. I think it's a complete delight to be in conversation with you, whether in person or whether here
Thank you so
on your show.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's dive in. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So I first, of course, really want to talk about your latest book, Weight Wars. So the principal character or the protagonist is Radhika. Now, she is a powerhouse at work and privately at war with herself. When you read the book, you
Right.
get to know this. So tell me, how much of that contradiction came from the women you observed or from somewhere closer to home?
I think that's a very pertinent question, particularly coming from somebody who has also worked her entire life. And, I think all of us understand that as women, and why just women? I think all human beings have, you could say, two sides to their personality. One is something which is extremely private and that we try to keep as close to our hearts as possible. And the other is what we have for the world. So Radhika is a lot like that. She has a very private side to her. And this constant battle that she's facing, in her case, it is a battle with her, her wellness, her fitness, her weight, or you could even say something that she really wants to change about herself.
Right.
But in most cases, in most people, you will see there is always something that is privately held. Close to their heart, something that they desire, that they want, or something that they're constantly fighting. So, and I think it's very important. I remember listening to Sushmita Sen when she had won, I think it was a Miss Universe crown, or was it when she won the Miss India? One of the two winning answers that she had given. Somebody asked her, one of the judges asked her something about your private life. And she said, everybody has a public side and then a private side. And I have one. I have two sides to my personality as well. So I think that is pretty much how it is with the protagonist.
Yes, yes, very true. We all have two sides. I mean, it's fairly obvious. Okay, now tell me, you chose humor as the vehicle about, for a story about body image, self doubt, and midlife transformations, subjects that most people carry in silence. So, my question is, what made you trust laughter with something so tender?
Always feel laughter is the best medicine. I've
Right.
been reading Reader's Digest magazines ever since I was very young. And I
Hmm.
used to love their, the laughter is the best medicine section in every issue. And I feel that it's just something, if you lighten something for your readers, they seem to enjoy it more, even if it's a very heavy subject.
Hmm.
And this is not an extremely heavy subject per se. I think it's something which is, you could say it's more relatable or something that people can connect with.
Right.
And if they can connect with it, I think the ability to be able to laugh at yourself is, it's quite something. I think everybody would want to develop that kind of personality where you can sit and you can say, all right, now this is how it is,
Hmm.
and why not just look at the lighter side of things and then do something or work towards making a change, which is what Radhika does. Half the time it's not even herself, she's not the one who's making the jokes. It's just every situation turns out to be so hilarious. And
Yeah.
weight loss is a lot like that. I have observed that it's just something that people are so desperate about that eventually it just becomes funny. So I think it was a very organic process when I started writing about her, because again, she is somebody who is inspired through a lot of experiences that I had when I was running a very good, it was a state of the art, world class health club here in Delhi NCR with my husband. And I remember there were so many different people we met during that period. And they would be there, they had these goals, 20 kgs in 6 months, or this kind of flexibility, or I want to be able to do these yoga asanas. And all through and through that entire process, there were so many hilarious moments that it was just impossible to ignore it. So
Yeah.
that's how it happened.
And I also think, somewhere, if you're even trying to get a heavy message across, if you can do it in a humorous way, if you can introduce that element of humor in that, it kind of, I think, it resonates and people are able to connect and learn more. That's what I feel, rather than making it serious and boring, which, is may sound like a lecture.
There were two ways out. I could have either made the book very preachy,
Hmm.
do this, do that, eat this, don't eat this, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a fictional book, but there's a lot of self-help in there also, because it's a book about winning against all odds and having the faith in yourself. So it could have become a preachy book, but I chose to make it as light-hearted and relatable as possible for people.
And how wonderful is that? I mean, all your readers, including me, have enjoyed it so much. Okay, so moving away from the book, as I understand, you write poetry, fiction, columns, and corporate research all in the same lifetime, right? So tell me, how did you figure out that you did not have to choose just one voice?
Sangeeta, this is something that all of us will relate with, isn't it? We choose. There are things we choose to do, and then there are things that choose us. So I
Hmm.
would say the corporate career is what chose me,
Hmm.
because it just happened after I finished my MBA. I got into the corporate sector, and it was something that I enjoyed
Hmm.
doing. I think it was just managing to juggle so many different industries, from pharmaceuticals to you could say specialty chemicals to automotives to engineering. I mean, our clients are so varied. So
Hmm.
to be able to do that, it required a certain acceptance when it comes to diversification, and
Correct.
it's just something that I learned to do. So I was talking to somebody in the pharmaceutical industry in the morning, and then in the afternoon I was talking to somebody who deals in, who's say a country manager with a leading automotive company.
Hmm.
So I really didn't see the point in pigeonholing myself or saying, okay, this is what I will do. And
Yeah.
as far as writing is concerned, it was something I started doing when I was very young. So
Hmm.
I chose to do that.
Right.
And what I realized is that it's not a career path, it's not a profession. Writing is oxygen to me, it's therapy to me, it is my outlet, and it's my medium of expression. So
Wow.
these are the two sides, and I think it's just both of them give me a lot of happiness and a lot of joy in different forms.
You're right. Actually, if one is fortunate enough to discover what works or what gives us joy, or gives us a sense of purpose or fulfillment, then obviously it's sensible and a smart thing to stick to them. Why not? Because, like you said, it's oxygen for you, so you can't let go of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, as I understand, your work has been published everywhere, from the Times of India to even a journal in California. Has writing across national and international platforms changed the way you think about your own story?
I think every publication that I've written for has been a learning process for me. And everybody I have worked with, or I would say the people I have been fortunate enough to have worked with, I think they've all been thorough professionals. Most of my experiences have been wonderful. I remember, when I published my first piece in the Times of India, they just published it the way it was. There was absolutely no change. They didn't really cut anything. They didn't make any changes. And it was a wonderful feeling to see my name in print like that.
Oh.
But when I wrote for this literary magazine called Spark, and they sent me an acceptance for a short story I'd sent them,
Mm.
I remember I was very happy because I know for a fact At that point, also, I knew that, their content was absolutely amazing. People used to love it. They had fabulous readership as well. And I really wanted to publish something with them. It was a literary magazine.
Mm.
And then when after the acceptance, and all that feeling of euphoria had calmed down a little bit, when I got her edited version, I mean, it was just full of so much work that she had put in, which was great. But then look at the changes she had made.
Yeah.
So when I looked at that, that was my first brush with, how a story could change when it goes from the author to the editor, when it changes hands. But
Hmm.
I have to say that she did a fantastic job also. So every time I have worked with a professional, and then of course, when I started writing my first book, and I got in touch with Sohail at the Book Bakers. I think it's been such a wonderful journey ever since. So 5 books down,
Hmm.
and we are still working on several very interesting concepts. So I've done 5 books with the Book Bakers, and every book has been, I think it's going to be an amazing memory for
Yeah.
me.
Oh,
So the fact that I have enjoyed the process so much, it really tells you, how professional and what a fabulous agency it is.
yeah, it is. I
And the
agree.
publishers as well, they've
Yeah.
been kind enough to take my work. So I think, from short stories to poetry, as you said, and columns, and I have now also finished my journalism,
Mm.
travel journalism from the London School of Journalism. So hopefully something in that genre also is what I would like to explore in the future.
So looking forward to it. Okay. So going back to the book. Now, Radhika is described as confident and successful and completely out of control the moment she steps outside the boardroom. So tell me, in your experience working with women across industries, how common is that split?
The commotion is actually more in her mind. So it's not something that she exposes to the world per se. If you read it also, you'll see that a
Yeah.
lot of that out of control phenomena or out of control side to her personality is, it's a very internal process, and it's something that she's constantly internalizing. There
Yeah.
have been moments, of course, like the one outside the trial room, where she allows herself to let loose, and just sort of gives into that beautiful moment that has come her way. But most of the time, you'll see she's internalizing a lot of it, and that's what we women, I think, try to do a lot. We want to appear perfect constantly, and that is a lot of pressure. So I feel that it's quite needless
Mm.
to constantly appear as if you've got everything in control, you've got your hand on everything, and you're able to juggle all the balls, which is something we spoke about
Yeah.
previously also
Yeah.
when we had this conversation. I think it was season 1. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of person she is. She's somebody like you and me, she's constantly driven to prove how adept she is at handling every crisis in her life.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think what we really need to do is to forego that entire concept of superwoman. And if you're having an emotional meltdown or you're having a bad day, it's okay to let people understand and see it, so
Absolutely.
that you'll also, I think, be able to get more consideration and a little more understanding from the people around you if you allow that to
Absolutely.
happen.
It's more important because that's the reality. And that's the practical way of living life. All this, being able to do it all and manage all is just, I think it's just somebody just put it in our heads and we started believing it. Nobody can do it all. So why
Yeah.
are we
Like,
even trying
even
to?
that scene at the wedding where she's at the receiving end of all those belittling comments from friends and relatives. I think the fact that she walks away and then goes and locks herself in the cubicle in the washroom, it speaks volumes about how you're constantly trying to internalize. It might have been better for her to actually give it to them right there and say, stop. I think I don't need this.
Yeah.
Um, that might have been a better response. But then maybe not so realistic, because again, in India, where we're basically polite people, right? I don't think
Yeah.
we're very
Yeah. Hmm.
forthright about how we feel.
Right.
So,
Right. Okay. So you are a senior director at a leading US based consulting organization. Tell me, what does it actually take for a woman to hold space in that world and not just enter it? I mean, enter a lot of women do, but to be able to hold your own, to find a voice. So, what does it take?
Sangeeta, the figures speak for themselves. I think they speak volumes. If you see Entry level, mid level, you'll see a lot of women in the
Yeah,
workforce
yeah, yeah.
in the corporate sector, but I think not more than 12 to 15% at senior management positions.
Right.
So even when I walk into a conference room and we're having, say a client presentation or something, that conference room is so dominated by testosterone
Hmm.
that it's very clear that it's not an easy place for women. Now, I do a lot of work in the pharmaceutical and healthcare space
Hmm.
also. We do a lot of consulting work for leading pharma companies. And I've seen again there, because in the pharma sector also, the demands are just completely crazy.
Hmm.
I don't think there would be more than 9 to 10% women representation in senior levels in the pharmaceutical and healthcare space. So
Hmm.
it's not an easy place. There is definitely a glass ceiling.
Of
And I
course.
think what makes it tougher is societal demands, familial demands. A very close friend of mine who was with Merck at
Hmm.
that time, when I was back when I was also fairly young in the corporate sector. I remember, had when she was in a dilemma. She was doing very well at work, but then she somewhere felt guilt pangs about not being able to focus on her kids.
Hmm.
And I don't remember what choice she really made, whether she chose to take the promotion that was being offered to her, or whether she chose to step down. But I remember her talking to me about it, and as an emotional dilemma. So I think it is definitely difficult. It's not an easy place.
Yes,
And there's a lot of judgment,
of course.
both from the social point of view as also in the work environment per se. So a lot of I think if people come forward, if you have husbands and children, and if they're taught at a younger age to support the dreams that the women in their family are trying to accomplish, I think we'll have a better place if we
Absolutely.
teach the younger generation to do
Yes,
that.
it's very important because it is kind of an impossible task when you're trying to manage everything, which even, as part of my doctoral research, I've spoken to women who say that it is difficult and it's a fact of life. And it's not only true of India, it's all over the world, where it is the women who have to carry most of that burden. Okay. So apart from this, your work with this US-based organization, you also teach creative writing and public speaking in educational institutions, right? Which is the other part of the creative side. So tell me, what do you see in young women that tells you that the next generation will or will not lead differently?
So yeah, I don't exactly teach workshops. I go and do workshops as and when I'm invited. So it's more of if they come my
Okay.
way, then I'm always happy to do it. My grandfather was an educationist, and I come from that background. So education institutes, schools, colleges are always welcome. When it comes to women, I think so. There was this incident that happened at the OCLF, the Orange City Literature Festival. We were having a session, we were doing a panel discussion on women in work life. So
Hmm.
there were four of us on the panel and the moderator. And we had, what I realized was, most of the audience was the young girls who were studying in the college, which was the venue at that time.
Hmm.
And after we were done with our discussion, there were so many of them who came up to us, and they asked us questions. And I was amazed at how in sync they are with reality, despite the fact that they're so young
Right.
and that they're studying right now. Because you would imagine that students at that point in time would be fairly oblivious to the realities or the harsh realities of what life has in store. But not these girls. They were very pragmatic. They knew what their challenges were. Some of them were, from backgrounds where they figured that they wouldn't be able to get the kind of cooperation or support that they would need to be able to make a go of whatever career path they would choose later. So they spoke to us very honestly, and what they needed was inspiration and some motivation to
Right.
be able to believe in themselves and in their dreams. And I think we tried to give them those positive strokes.
Hmm.
But yes, what I've seen is they're very much in sync with reality. And while they have big dreams, they also know the challenges that lie ahead. And that is true. The challenges are there.
Yes.
All women everywhere in the world have to face them.
Yes, yes. And I think women like us who have kind of, followed our dreams and gotten to a particular point with those dreams, we definitely serve as role models. They have someone closer to them. I mean, the celebrities and all are there, but they're very far away. And you would believe, that they are leading a kind of life which is very different from reality. But when they see women like you and I, who come from, probably similar backgrounds, they have a story that they can believe. They have somebody they can look up to and say, okay, if she could do it, so can I. So I
I
think
mean, there was this
that,
young girl, and she spoke very honestly. She said, I want to study and I want to be able to do this and I want to pursue my law. But then
yeah,
I see my mother, and she's constantly inundated with, household work. And
right.
I feel that that's the kind of future because that's her mother. And it's this woman who she has seen growing up and during her formative years, and somebody who she's held in very high regard also.
Mm,
So those are the kind of questions I think that they have to battle with at various stages of their lives.
right, right. So, once again, coming back to the way it was. Now, this book is described as, yes, brutally honest about a woman's relationship with her body. At 42, Radhika is navigating this in midlife. Now, tell me, why does this particular decade feel like such a fertile ground for this kind of reckoning? I mean, what happens in the 40s?
No idea. I mean, I am in my 40s too,
Yeah.
but I don't know why it is such a subject of conversation. In this case, it just happened that way. Organically, she was 42. I could have made her very well, could have made her 37 or 38 also, and that would have been perfectly okay. So
Hmm.
it's just the number popped up in my head, and I said, okay, Radhika has to be 42.
Okay.
And that's how the book, developed on its own.
Hmm.
And with me, it's always like that. It's very organic, the process. As I'm writing, the character keeps developing, and that's how I don't have a set thought process in mind. I like to live the character, put myself in her shoes, and that's how it happened. When it comes to the 40s, I think, well, there are changes that happen in the body. A lot of women talk about it. But these days, of course, I think, which is why, again, fitness is so important. And
Hmm.
you see that difference, women who consciously pursue a path where they are trying to stay fit and they're trying to take care of their bodies.
Yeah.
I think they're able to, their shift from one decade to another just becomes a little easier and more seamless.
Right.
So, not to say that those who are not working out, who are not taking care of their diets, have to have a tough time, but I just feel that fitness is something we need to talk about more.
Yeah. Yeah.
It needs to be a part of our life, and we need to understand that it's not something, there's no judgment here. It's just something that you do for yourself. It doesn't necessarily have to be because you want to get into a certain size when it comes to your clothes, or you want people to see you a certain way. I think it is everything to do with yourself,
Yeah.
your relationship with yourself, and to be able to give yourself a little bit of that self love. And in the 40s, because of the hormonal changes that are happening and because you are stepping into a different decade, it just it's just more important. I think it's a little more important to do that. Go that little extra mile to take care of yourself.
Absolutely. Like, I was speaking to a guest the other day, and what she said was that your body is something that is with you right from the time you're born till the time you die. So, why wouldn't you take care of it? Right? Everything, you take care of everything else, which is probably, temporary in your life. So, why not take care of something which is going to be with you forever? And I think we owe it to ourselves to do that, right?
To do that, there's a very famous fitness quote which goes something like this: your body is the only place you live in
Yes.
permanently.
Okay, that's
So
so,
take care of it.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the book. Now, the book blends self discovery with humor, with laugh out loud moments, along with the real life struggles. Now, as a writer, how do you hold both without one canceling the other out?
You've seen sometimes in horror films, they give you these little doses of laughter. You'll always have that one character, particularly in Bollywood, maybe not so much in Hollywood, but in
Yeah,
Bollywood and Hindi horror films, you'll see that. I think they do that to ease the tension because you're so much on the edge of your seat that you need that little break.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think when you're dealing with something which is fairly serious as a topic of conversation, I think it's really nice to give your readers or your viewers or your listeners a wee break. and just get them to relax a little bit so that and then come back, of course, to whatever the point of discussion is. So in this book also, I feel, but then again, like I said, the conversation was so organic between her and her friends, and then she was there with her gym trainers, and those moments are funny. I
Yeah.
mean, if you go to a gym and you see the interaction that happens between, your fitness instructor or your personal instructor or even your nutritionist and you, it
Hmm.
is really funny. I've had those experiences myself. I have seen people go through them. There
Right.
is a scene in which she is just pushing herself to within an inch of her life because the trainer's telling her, you can do one more plank or you can hold
Right.
that plank for another 1 minute.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's asking herself, why is it that trainers occupy this place? You go all out to please them.
Yeah.
Nobody else can make you do it. Your spouse can't. Even your boss at work, you'll argue back. But when it comes to your personal instructor, you will
Right.
do everything. So those are the kind of things, and because they are real life moments, which I have picked
Yeah.
up from other people's. Radhika is an inspiration from so many people I
Yeah.
met.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure.
So I realized that, these are real life situations, and because they have been picked up from real things that I actually witnessed, I think everybody will relate with
Yes, that's so true. It is very, very relatable. And that's, I think, the USP of the book, that it is very relatable. You can, you feel as though it's happening to you because it does happen to you. Okay. So coming back to the various roles that you play, like you hold a demanding corporate role, you have a prolific writing life, speaking career, workshops, all that we've spoken about. So tell me, what have you had to say no to at times, and how did you make peace with that? Because sometimes it's not possible to do everything.
Yeah. I think I've had to say no to myself when it comes to my social life. For example, there are friends I haven't met in a while who I would have liked to keep in touch with. I think a lot of that self-care where I feel that I don't get enough sleep at night.
Mm.
And I know that I am permanently sleep deprived. And one day it's going to catch up with me because it hasn't yet, but it will.
Right.
So, because somebody who is writing at night, and that's what I do. I am working through the day, and then there are weekends also when we have events or we've got, say a launch, a book launch, or there is something, then we are working weekends as well. And then, of course, there are all the demands of motherhood, which will never go down, right? They'll keep increasing as my son gets older.
Mm.
So, keeping all that in mind, I think maybe I need to give myself a little more time. So, but then again, Sangeeta, I'm very happy doing everything that I'm doing
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe the only change I would like to make is to give myself a little more time to sleep at night.
Hmm.
So that might require a little bit of juggling because I have to write. It's
Right.
oxygen therapy, can't give it up.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that scheduling will have to be done in a way. But otherwise, I'm very happy doing all this, playing all these roles. And if you're happy, I think the tiredness doesn't even, or the exhaustion doesn't even hit you. You
No, it
just
doesn't. It
are
doesn't.
floating on a cloud of
Absolutely. Because
happiness and
it's
self-actualization.
coming from within. You want to do it. Nobody is holding a gun to your head and asking
Yeah,
you, dude, you're doing it because you want to do it. And I think that makes all the difference.
yeah, absolutely.
So, 5 books, an award-winning body of work, and a full-time senior corporate career. So, how do you think about the economies of being a creative person? I mean, has writing ever been a financial gamble for you?
No, not really, not really. I think what we need to understand is that, it's a little bit like this, you have to juggle what your day job is, and then you're doing the writing for a very different reason.
Right.
So, and a lot of us in India, and I'm sure internationally also, a lot of writers have other jobs,
Yeah, yeah,
other work, other professions. So that's all that there is to it. There's really nothing more to it. And if I am lucky enough to be a full-time writer one day, well, then I will embrace that with a lot of happiness and joy because it's been a long time in the corporate sector now. I started working very early. I was very young when I started working.
hmm
I started working when I was in college. So I was working and studying together.
hmm
And I was a management trainee with a multinational company at that time. So it's been a long, long career. And I don't mind, if at some point in time, in the near future or in the far future, I decide that, okay, I'm only going to be a full-time writer.
Okay.
That also will be a fabulous change. It'll be a great phase and I'm going to love it. if that
And you'll be
happens.
doing something that you actually want to do, like something which is cathartic for you, something like you said gives you oxygen. So why not?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, if Radhika from Wait Wars sat across from you on this podcast, what is the one thing you would tell her she has been wrong about?
I would tell her, baby, you started too late. You know,
Okay.
the struggle might have been a little less if you had done this a few years ago.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's interesting. And it's true.
it's true.
Okay. So, Rashima, you're familiar with the way the show goes, and so while we are at the end of the conversation, we still have the rapid fire round, which is 5 quick questions followed by 5 quick answers. So, ready? Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. The first one. One word to describe Radhika that is not in the book.
Adorable.
Oh, okay. All right. Next one. Diet culture in one word.
Hmm. Very fake, I think.
Okay.
A lot of fake news, a
Yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
fake diets, lot of fake expectations.
Right. The next one. The most important room a woman needs to be in, and why is she often not there?
The most important
Room a woman needs to be in.
room,
Room, yes. Room as in room.
as in a physical room,
Yes.
or we're talking about a mental space or
No,
something
we are
more.
talking about a physical room.
See, I love to spend a lot of time in my bathroom.
Okay, all right.
And
But
trust
then
me,
why is she often not there? Okay, because you have other things to
I
do.
would love to spend a lot more time than I can, just doing my thing, I love standing there in front of the mirror and applying a face mask or a face pack. I
Okay.
can, have a very nice small little chair also in my bathroom where I sit and I do my nails. So I think my bathroom is my private space. Nobody can ever disturb me there. So I think for me, it's the bathroom.
All right. Okay. The next one. The last book that made you cry.
Mm, So, Love Story is a book I have read over and over again.
Yeah.
And I tend to pick it up. It's a very slim book
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's there in my bookcase. And every few months, every 7 or 8 months, I like to give it a reread because it just stabilizes my belief in that one thing, which is the fact that love is the only thing that makes the world go round.
Right.
And it's a beautiful story, but every time I read it, I end up crying.
Oh,
So
yes. Yes, I know. And finally, finish this sentence. A woman finds her voice when she stops, dot, dot, dot.
feeling guilty,
Yes, that is true.
feeling guilty.
Half the times we are so guilty, feeling so guilty about so many things that we are just not able to express ourselves. Very well said. Okay. So, end of the conversation. Thank you once again. And with you, the joy is that you're always to the point, and I think I've said this to you earlier as well. To the point, you know what you want to say. You said you have the words. Of course, you're a writer. You have the mind and the words. So it's such a joyful conversation because you just get what you're looking for. So thank you so much for being on the show.
I must congratulate you and compliment you as well, Sangeeta. So many episodes of this fabulous podcast. I think you're doing an amazing job. And your questions are, I think they just show a very deep understanding of the subject that you're talking about. And there is a lot of passion also that you can see, which really comes out in the way you conduct every session. Because I've been watching your podcast now for the last, 2.5 years, I think. How long has it been? The podcast has been a long 3 years, yeah. So yeah, 2.5, 3 years, and I think every episode you're so in sync with the subject, the conversation, the guest. Your research is always on point. So that is not something which everybody can do. So I'm really really impressed with the way you've been running it, and I have to congratulate you and compliment you.
Thank you so much.
And a
Thank
big
you so
thank you I want to say to all my readers. Wait was. I hope you all enjoy it. If you do, please post your reviews. If you don't, please send them to me privately
Yes,
because I'd love to
absolutely.
understand. But I have a feeling that you will enjoy it because most people are telling me that they're able to relate with the
Yes.
characters. So a big thank you to the book bakers for representing the book. and Srishti Publishers for publishing. I think I have worked with the best team, Suhail Mathur, Arup Bose, and Stuti Sharma Gupta. I think
Yeah.
an incredible team, thorough professionals, and they really, really have brought the story to life, with their inputs. So
Yeah.
it's been a pleasure all the way.
I'm sure. Thank you once again.
Thanks, Sangeeta. You take care. Have a lovely day.
You too. Thank you for tuning in to the About Her show. If you enjoyed this episode, there's plenty more from where that came from. Our previous guests have shared some amazing stories, so be sure to catch up on past episodes. To keep up with our inspiring conversations and to never miss an update, hit subscribe, rate, review, and share the love. Follow us on social media for some great content, and don't forget to check out our website www.aboutherbysangeeta.com for stories that resonate, inspire, and empower. Know a remarkable woman or an inspiring man blazing a trail? We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note at web.abouther@gmail.com and let's bring their story to life on the About Her show.